Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the January 9th meeting of the Blackstone Millville Regional School District. If you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will go around and introduce who is with us tonight.
Sarah Williams, Blackstone.
Karen Vernon, Millville.
Jack Keefe, Blackstone.
Jane Reggio, Millville.
Sarah Larkin, Millville.
Tammy Lemieux, Blackstone.
Bethany Dunton, Blackstone.
Danielle Catalano, Student Council Vice President.
And Danielle, while you're there, we'll start with whatever you'd like to tell us today.
Thank you. The past couple of weeks have been extremely busy for the high school. Prior to our winter break, we had our annual pep rally, an event where the 4 grades compete against each other by making a banner and a sign and a lip sync that correspond with the theme. Although each grade put up an extremely tough fight, juniors came out victorious, with seniors in 2nd place, sophomores in 3rd, and freshmen in 4th. The students then went on to their winter break to enjoy time with their family and friends. The music program, our jazz band in particular, has been preparing for a few upcoming performances. On February 6th, the NHS is hosting their annual Empty Bowl dinner, and the jazz band is performing at that, as well as the annual jazz night at the Stadium Theater on February 7th. Our winter percussion and winds program is also going great, with a huge involvement of many of our musicians. We're preparing for our first competition on March 16th. Our sports teams have been working very hard throughout their season so far. Some upcoming home basketball games are for the boys tonight against Hopedale and January 11th. Both games are at 6:15. For girls basketball, some upcoming games are January 16th and February 1st. Both are at 6:15. We are extremely proud of our teams and everything they have accomplished so far this season. Midterms are coming up at the high school next Wednesday, Thursday, and the following Tuesday and Wednesday. The students are working hard to prepare for these exams. Coming up, the NHS is also hosting their annual Empty Bowl dinner on February 6th. At this event, people pay to enjoy a nice warm bowl of soup on a cold winter day and listen to some music provided by our music program. All NHS members also make a bowl, which are later raffled off at the dinner. And all proceeds of this event go towards supporting our local food pantries. That's about all we have, so thank you, and I hope you all enjoy your 2019.
You as well. Thank you. Any questions for Danielle?
I just have one. The Empty Bowl, do you know what time it's at? If you don't, I'll wait for the announcement.
6.
Yeah, I believe it might be at 6, but I can get back to you on that.
No worries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much.
Now is the opportunity in our meeting for public forum, if anyone would like to bring any information to the committee. Please.
Did they say 6? Yes.
I'm going to hold judgment on that. I don't know the answer to that yet. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I think the procedure is I need to tell you who I am and what I do or why I'm here. Cecilia Doyle, JFK Kindergarten. I am here as a staff member, and I don't know if it's considered speaking before some other things, but having attended a staff meeting yesterday, or an optional staff meeting yesterday, I have some very grave concerns about what is being considered or recommended in our restructure of the complex. Having been in the district for numerous years, I've seen this model before, twice, and it hasn't been successful because the students were the biggest concern in the issue and the model. We have many students in the complex if we look at both buildings, and both times we've had to go back to having one principal. The model, both times it was presented before, did include an assistant principal, and it was not successful. Last spring, I spoke here many times, and my comments last spring had to do with class size, and this school committee took class size as one of their #1 priorities when we were looking at the budget last year. And I would like to hope that class size is going to continue to be a #1 priority. Because what I heard yesterday, and I know it was brief, so Dr. DeFalco, I respect that it was brief, and I'm thinking there may be a lot more in it. But nothing that I heard yesterday had the children as their #1 priority in this district. And as a teacher in this district, for almost 20 years, or maybe this is my 20th year, I don't know, the children have been the number one priority as far as I'm concerned as an educator. And where they fit in this model that's being presented, I'm not sure, because I didn't sense that children were the number one priority. Class size should be. So instead of adding additional coaches and positions such as that, we need to reduce the class size in all of our grades, in all of our elementary schools. I think just the people representing Millville probably could attest to the class size they're faced with right now this year. We have third grade classes at the complex that are way too big for elementary school. It's not right for the children in Blackstone and Millville to have to deal with that. They need to be our number one priority in everything we do. And I believe truly that we will get more bang for our buck. And we don't have many bucks in this district at all. So we can't have any luxury, fluffy positions. We need classroom teachers in classrooms because these children need that every day, in every possible minute, to get what they need. We don't have enough people to give them what they need. It's the classroom teacher that is doing that. We have infrastructure needs in our building. I don't know if you've been at lunch at the JFK cafeteria at all, because if you did, I'd recommend bringing a flashlight, because the light bulbs in there are about 20-watt bulbs. Maybe they're energy efficient, but the children are eating in the dark. They are. We have children that are not happy about sitting in the dark cafeteria. So could we put light bulbs or lighting in our budget? It would be really helpful. I just really worry that for the years I've been here, every couple of years we're back at it. We've got another new person coming in with another new agenda. And the children in our district, some of them have been through multiple agendas. I think they're getting lost in the shuffle. The children are the priority here. I don't think any of you signed up to be or were elected as school committee members that didn't have children as your number one priority. It can't be that Blackstone is the stepping stone for everybody that comes through our door, but it's beginning to feel that way here in the district. So I really hope that we go back and question where do children fit in this model and what our class size is going to look like, because anything over 20 in the elementary schools is way too big. It is. We don't have the extra support people to bring those children where they need to be if you're looking at 30 in a classroom.
Thank you very much.
And I understand in public forum there are no opportunities for anything else, but I'm sure I'll be back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to? Okay. Moving forward on our agenda, we have minutes from November 28th and December 12th, and warrants. Can we consider that as a group, or did somebody miss some of those meetings? I will entertain a motion to move consent agenda A.
Not everyone was here at the 28th meeting. Sorry, I was trying to look
Okay,
at it while you were.
thank you.
Do you want?
So let's do them separately. So let's do, I'll entertain a motion to move the warrants.
So moved.
Moved by Tammy,
Second.
second by Bethany. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Minutes from November 28th. I'll entertain a motion to approve those. We got them today. We got them today.
Here's the workshop we did with Wendy. Was at the MES.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Sarah. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Seconded. All those in favor, any discussion? Any issues with them? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Here.
Who wasn't here? Yeah, Jack.
Jack and Karen.
Oh, I couldn't remember. I
That
thought
was a
it the first
workshop.
one.
Yeah.
There we go.
And
Wait,
December
don't have me
12th.
second it. I can't second. Right, can I not second it?
Oh,
Have Bethany. Make sure Bethany seconded it.
Bethany. Okay. December 12th, meeting. Do you want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Tammy, seconded by Tara. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Good. We have next on our agenda the superintendent evaluation. We put that on there because January is typically the point at which we would conduct the mid-year review. However, as a committee, we have chosen to push this process back to February and early March so that we can ensure our assessment is well thought out and based on actual data from the district. With the new superintendent, we have had a lot of changes in these past 6 months and a lot of plans put into place, and we'd like to see how those plans are coming forth with a result of some of the focus groups that were held, with a result of the STARS data testing, his superintendent's induction forum assessment. So we are holding off, but we don't want people to be confused by that we're just pushing it back. We're very proud of the direction and vision Dr. DeFalco has outlined for our district of 2,000 strong. If we were not clear when he presented his plan, we are 100% on board and working in conjunction with him and his team to advance the success of all students in Blackstone-Millville Regional School District. We look forward to his reporting on the data and the information and tonight's discussion about reorganization. We are a part of this process. Our input has been heard and is taken into consideration. We are a part of this team and very proud of that, and we will detail that very clearly as we outline the midterm evaluation. We have things that we are looking forward to seeing in that evaluation, and I will share them with Dr. DeFalco in our regular meeting. But people should expect to hear a lot more about how we think this district is doing and how we think the superintendent is moving us in the right direction. So. Does anybody want to add any comments to that at this time? Okay. So let's move on to reorganization.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Reggio. Good evening, everybody. If I may, I would like to read the cover letter into the record that was attached to the two reorganizations that we're going to discuss this evening. I also think it might help provide some context for those in the audience and everybody watching at home around really where these two reorganizations came from. What were the driving factors behind these? And so I would like to formally read this into the record. And so the memo is framed as such. Attached, please find an overview of the reorganization of two major district departments: the JFK AFM schools, referred to as the complex, and the district central office. Please know that the reorganization of each department was not a process done in isolation, nor was it something taken lightly. These are being brought forward to the school committee after many conversations, observations, and the identification of gaps and redundancies in our current services to students, families, and staff. During the last 6 months, a variety of themes have emerged as I have been learning about our schools and the district. As you know, these themes have been developed into a district improvement strategy known as the what, the how, the whole child, and the community. These themes in improvement strategy are reflected below and drove the reorganization of each department. First, while we continue to strengthen our core teaching and learning practices, we cannot focus solely on the academic needs of our students. We must pay closer attention to helping remove those non-academic barriers that get in the way of student learning. We want happy, healthy, and proficient kids. Second, we need stronger and more aligned intervention support services for all students. Third, we must start aligning better our approach to teaching and learning and student support throughout and across the elementary schools, strengthening the foundational skills and supports for our youngest learners, truly becoming a district of one. Lastly, recruiting, retaining, and maintaining a strong and successful workforce within our organization must become a much stronger focus for the district. By implementing the reorganization of each department, we can bring the needed alignment across the district and bring additional clarity to the roles and responsibilities of those providing direct services to our students, staff, and overall school community, while eliminating existing redundancies. I greatly look forward to a rich conversation or discussion around each of the proposed new structures. So with that, I'd like to launch into the first reorganization, which is around the district's central offices. And so what we are looking at this evening around central office is essentially a chart that outlines what our existing structure looks like, the exact titles, and the cost to run the current model at next year's in next year's budget. So currently within the central office, we have, as you can see, 3 financial assistants that have varying duties within central office, from payroll to accounts payable to some bookkeeping work and some what I would refer to as more light HR kind of paperwork, the paperwork side of human resources. We have an administrative assistant, a technology aide, and we have presently a technology and administrative consultant that is consulting with the school department. So that exact model and structure at next year's costs would be at the tune of $284,010. What we are proposing will bring additional clarity, direction, and focus to the service delivery from our central office directly to our staff, families, and students. We are looking to eliminate, in the current structure, one of the financial assistant positions, the administrative assistant, and the technology and administrative consultant. That is at a savings of about $140,000. What we are looking to do is restructure one of those positions into an actual HR specialist that will help with true recruitment, staff retention, and really providing direct services to our about 200 to 250 faculty members and providing them with the human resources services that they need and investment in human capital so that we can keep our high-performing staff with us. We are looking to realign financial assistant 2 to an accounts payable specialist. Those are roles and responsibilities that currently exist within the school department, but are not correctly labeled and defined within that financial assistant position. Similarly, financial assistant 3, we are looking to realign that position to a payroll specialist. Those responsibilities are happening now through the financial assistant that is in that position, but we need to better clarify and define her roles and responsibilities. So I want to be clear about the first 3 positions. None of this is new money. It's simply a realignment of the positions that are there. An elimination of the financial assistant 1, and then a creation of a true HR specialist. Financial assistant 2 and 3 are just simple realignments at the same cost, just defining better their roles and responsibilities and professionally really lifting the title to what it should be by clarifying and defining that. The administrative assistant role we do not need. We are eliminating that position completely. The technology administrative consultant role we do not need. We are eliminating that completely. The technology position, we are looking to make that a full-time position. Presently, it's not. It's at 30 hours a week. That position needs to be 40 hours. And we are looking to have that position anchored specifically around data, not just compliance data, but working with the schools to generate the reports around student performance data, such as MCAS, Edwin Analytics, STAR, to help save time for those teachers and principals that need to look at that information so they can better have a sense of where their students are performing, and they can use their time better and not running and generating reports, but actually looking at the data in front of them to help them plan what to do next to best meet the needs of the students before them. With that in place, we will need a part-time, about 15 hours a week, bookkeeper that will essentially be accounts receivable. You cannot have your accounts payable person doing the accounts receivable work. So we do need a very small position about 15 hours a week to manage the resources, the money that's coming in through revolving accounts, preschool, athletics, music, etc. So you can see with the existing structure at next year's cost, we are looking at about $284,000. With the proposed structure, we're looking between the range of $236,168 to $246,168, coming at a savings of about $37,000 to $47,000. Now, the proposal is that within this reorganization, that those monies be reassigned to planning, teaching, and learning coaches that will be able to not only impact 25 children, but actually all of the children in that building, because they will be working side by side with teachers to help give them informal feedback around what's happening in the classroom, to help them look at student work, to help them look at student data, to help them plan their lessons so that they can better meet the needs of the children that are sitting in front of them. We truly believe that a huge investment in our teachers is a huge investment in our students. The stronger teachers we have, the more support they have, the better they're going to be able to meet the needs of our children. And so children have come first throughout this entire reorganization. And so I will pause at this point for any questions about the central office room.
So can we assume that the realignment addresses the issues of the audit of how we had people who were doing double duty when they should not have been?
Yes, what will come after this, probably in February, is the conversation around the work on the school committee side with the treasurer and the assistant treasurer piece.
Yeah.
I want to make sure the committee knows that that has not been lost in this by any sense. These positions are day-to-day operational positions to make sure that the district functions at its highest capacity with the necessary oversight of that work.
Any other questions?
May I comment?
Yes, of
Can I
course.
ask a question?
Yes, yeah.
So I just wanted to sort of, you know what, I'm going to wait until the next
Okay.
page. Sorry.
Any other questions on the central office? Or comments, or thoughts, or concerns? Hearing none, I will entertain the motion to reorganize and to limit 2 clerical administrative positions in the central office, one formerly assigned to support services for the previous assistant superintendent and another position in the finance office. Following elimination of these 2 positions, a new position will be created focused on fulfilling HR functions. The plan of office staff reorganization recommended by the superintendent to be effective July 1st, 2019, subject to impact bargaining obligations with affected employees, bargaining representatives, and further approval of the creation of new positions consolidating duties and responsibilities, all as recommended by the superintendent. Each new position to be posted as required by applicable contracts or committee policy.
So moved.
Moved by Bethany, is there a
Second.
second? Second by Karen. Any discussion on the actual motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so moved.
Moving on to the next reorganization. This is the JFK AFM, the complex. And so similarly, we use the same structure. On the left side, you will see the current design that is in place right now at the building, where we have a principal at the K-2 level. We have a principal at the grades 3 through 5 level. We have a K-2 administrative assistant, and we have a 3 through 5 administrative assistant. It's important to note the complex, collectively the enrollment is around 590 students, which is a very reasonable size for a typical average elementary school. And that structure is in place at the tune of $305,531. The proposed structure on the right, and before I get into that, I do want to make sure that families at home understand that we are not recommending any changes to the social-emotional support of the students. Presently, there are 2 adjustment counselors in the building, and we are recommending that those 2 stay. and that is actually right within the guidelines of what is expected for counselor educators and adjustment counselors, which is right around 250 to 1. And so if folks are concerned about the removal of any of the social-emotional support services for children, that is absolutely not the case, nor is it the case that we are looking to remove any services that provide direct intervention to children, like our reading specialists. Those positions are very much being placed in the FY20 budget, and there is no discussion at this time or consideration at this time to remove any direct services to children. They are at the top priority throughout this entire reorganization. So if you were to look at the right side of the table, you would see the proposed design. What we are looking to do is truly unify that school and make it one building with one vision, one mission, underneath the district concept of being a district of one. And we cannot do that with children and teachers under the same roof functioning as two separate schools. That is not going to help us get to where we need to be. And so we are looking for one principal, K to 5, one assistant principal, K to 5. We are looking for a planning, teaching, and learning coach, and one K to 5 administrative assistant. You will see that with the coaching position in place in the proposed structure, we are still going to be at a cost savings of approximately somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000. The structure we have on the left is not necessary. The structure that I am asking the school committee to consider is what we need to bring that building into alignment and have a true continuity of services and supports for children, the elementary school children in Blackstone.
Any comments, questions, or discussions?
This is where I have a
Now
comment.
here you go.
I have a comment here. So, I mean, I think it's important for folks to understand the role of teaching and learning coaches. I am in a district that has teaching and coaching, teaching and learning coaches. We are in the paper right now because we have blown our RICAS scores out of the water. We have aligned our instruction. I think as a school committee member and as a parent, when we looked at the data earlier in the year and you look at the MCAS scores across the board, you know, I was concerned when you look at the buildings, when you look at Millville versus the complex, that there was a significant discrepancy between the two. And so if I'm a parent at the school that has that lower number, I am looking to ask the why. Why is this school as a whole performing below the other school? And I think what coaches do is it allows you to sort of align that instruction so that every kid in this district at a grade level is getting the same education. And I know having my kids grow up in this district for many years, as a Blackstone parent, it was, oh, at Millville, they have this, that, and the other thing. And whether this, that, and the other thing were true, you always had that thought. And with the alignment of instruction, that kind of thinking goes away because every student is getting a fair and equitable education. And so I think being in the education field, there is a great value for every student in this district with experienced teachers doing some coaching and improving instruction across the board. So I think that's all I want to say on that right now.
Anyone else? Okay. I also want to say how much I appreciate being involved in this discussion, in this process. These are management changes, and when changes we heard from someone who spoke earlier that said, you know, every time we get a new superintendent, we get a new change. That's because superintendents can make those changes, and this is the first time that we have been involved. The last time we came to a meeting and heard about new principals at new schools, and it was kind of a shocking process. So to be able to be a part of this, to have our input heard, to share information with people, I think is different, and I think it's positive, and I hope that people understand that this is just not, coming out from left field. There has been thought, there has been discussion, there is continual discussion. Change is difficult. Change is very difficult. But sometimes, this is what we asked for. We asked for a real good look at what we're doing here and how we can make it better. And so we're being given a plan to do that. And I think it's important that we work with that and work together to ensure the success, as opposed to perhaps maybe finding some holes and trying to think it won't work before it starts. Anything else? Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion to approve the recombining of the Kennedy and Maloney School, elimination of one of the two principal positions at the Kennedy and Maloney School following the retirement of Mrs. Carol Brown, the creation of a new assistant principal position at the Kennedy and Maloney School, and the creation at the Kennedy and Maloney School of a new planning, teaching, and learning coach. The plan of administrative reorganization recommended by the superintendent to be effective July 1st, 2019, subject to impact bargaining obligations with effective employees, bargaining representatives, and further approval of the creation of new positions consolidating duties and responsibilities, all as recommended by the superintendent. Each new position to be posted as required by applicable contracts and committee policies.
So moved.
Moved by Jack.
Second.
Second by Bethany. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain only because I wasn't here for the.
Okay. So is there somebody, who's taking minutes?
Monique is going to take
Oh, going to
minutes
do it from
off
there.
yep.
Monique, one
Yep.
abstention. I don't know who I'm waving to, but I don't know. Maybe it worked. Okay, are we good?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So next, we're going to shift gears, and we're going to talk this evening a bit about the FY20 budget. And so before Mr. Aaronworth gets into the actual numbers and explanation of what these three numbers are in front of us, and really be able to articulate to those watching at home and in the audience a deep understanding of where these came from, I do want to just take a minute and talk a little bit about how we got to where we are right now in this process. And so we have spent a lot of time discussing with the leadership team, going back, I don't know, a couple of months now, the process in which we want, or the process in which we used, and we wanted to use at the time, that we used at the present, to develop the numbers that are in front of us. And so there were a lot of conversations around, we absolutely need to create a fiscal plan that is going to match the school improvement work that we are doing in our schools and classrooms every day. So the fiscal plan needs to match the educational plan. And we've had this, I know that exact language we've discussed here at the school committee a couple of times. And likewise, our school district budget needs to make sure that it matches and aligns with the school improvement work and district improvement work that we have set out to do. At the core of all of this, and I think it's really important to underscore this, at the core of these numbers and at the core of this process is, how do we create a budget that works for kids? How do we create a budget that works for teachers so that they can reach the students? How do we create a budget that gives leadership in the buildings what they need and the support that they need to reach the teachers to better service the students? It all comes back to the children in those seats. They get one opportunity at this, and so we need to get it right for the kids that we serve each and every day. And so with that, the principals and their school-based teams worked very hard to create a budget that really outlines and meets the needs for the children sitting in our seats presently. So with that, Mr. Aaronworth and I had an opportunity to meet with every single budget cost center manager. So we met with all of those that actually manage a piece of this budget. And we went through all of their priorities. Mr. Aaronworth so kindly coined the term staff and stuff. So what are the people that we need in the positions, and what are the materials and resources that we need to best meet the needs of our children? From that, we took a very analytic lens, and we identified patterns and trends that emerged from all of those conversations with our leadership team members and cost center managers. If you recall, at the December meeting, December 12th, slides, I believe it was 3 and 4 of our presentation, which was emailed home to everybody, about 3,000 folks, all of our teaching staff and support staff, all of our parents, with a little video explanation of me. I spared you all by not having me in the corner and seeing my face. It was just my voice. Really going over the process and the priorities for materials, resources, and staff. And so that brings us to this evening, where Mr. Aaronworth will go over the 3 different levels, as we're referring to them for purposes of our conversation tonight, where those numbers came from, and what they mean for our next steps as a committee. Mr. Aaronworth.
Sure. So for starters, I'd like to say clearly this is more of a budget preview than an entire presentation, and all of the specifics that underlie each of these numbers we will hash through when we have our budget workshops. I'll let you speak about that.
No, well, that's what
But to get a better understanding of where things stand, this chart shows 3 different levels of funding that the district is entertaining. The first column, which I will take care to explain, it shows level funding. Level funding meaning from our FY19 final budget that was approved, this budget would represent the same amount of expenditure. Now, people might be looking at the top line thinking, well, last year's budget, this year's budget was 22.6, but I'm looking at 23,751. So if you look down below, there's different other sources of funding. We have our state aid funding, our grants funding, our circuit breaker reimbursement for special education needs, and our estimated offsets from user fees that are collected by the district. That might be pre-K tuition, that could be athletic or music user fees. So there's a significant amount of funds that come in to offset other things. That 22.6 number doesn't represent things that were purchased using grants, circuit breaker, or user fees and other offsets. This 23.75 number includes the additional purchases from those other lines below. So this is really what we totally spent. So the 22.6 number is what we allocated for local, but didn't include what we were going to purchase with grants and circuit breaker money, or what we were going to use the offsets for. So this 23.751 number includes those funding sources added back into the total. So because the other 2 lines, both the level services and the zero-based budget, were built without removing those funds, I wanted everyone to be able to compare apples to apples. So to be able to compare apples to apples, I put all of those sources of funding on the bottom, that you could pull them out subsequently from each of the major budget lines. So the level funding line that you look at in the first column is simply the money that we eventually appropriated for this fiscal year, FY19. As you can see, as you can imagine, there are increases to FY20 just based on steps for Unit A. For Unit C, there are increases that are factored in for steps and an additional 3% COLA increase, which was approved in their last contract. If you look at the level services budget, that budget does include an increase in steps for level A, for Unit A, and it increases steps and a COLA for Unit C. It also includes the expenses for building costs, electricity, fixed costs, and they were increased by 2.5%. So if people are looking and saying, well, this doesn't match exactly, the level services budget is based on taking all of the things that we used in FY19 and expecting that they're going to cost a little bit more this next year. So that cost factor that we applied was a 2.5% to the stuff. And for the staff, we applied all of the appropriate steps and for Unit A and all of the appropriate steps for Unit C and an additional 3% increase, which was contractually negotiated in the past. What it also includes is the reorganizations that were proposed. So every one of these budgets includes the level services and the zero-based budget, not just level funding, but the level service and the zero-based includes the proposed reorganizations. The zero-based budget includes a 2.5% increase on all of the services that we purchase, the electricity, the building costs, our other expenses. It includes all of our current faculty moving, again, if they're in Unit A, moving up a step. If they're in Unit C, moving up a step and receiving a 3% increase. And it also includes every additional service, every additional instructional resource, every additional piece of equipment, and every additional piece of, I shouldn't say piece, every additional person to work in the buildings that the principals requested. So at our meetings with the principals, as Dr. DeFalco mentioned, we went over what we really could use to fully support the instruction for the students in every building across the district and to fully support the upkeep of the buildings in the district. And that is what the zero-based budget represents. Every request that was discussed. From every cost center. Correct. Including maintenance requests. What you see below, just to get to the bottom line, those are estimates based on the 5-year trends of what our state aid has been and also what our grant funding has been, what our circuit breaker reimbursement has been, and what our offsets into and other tuition incomes have been. And that's a minimum of a 3-year average, and what the trends seem to be. Some grants have been trending down, like Title I. Others have been remaining relatively consistent. But this summarizes the trends, and these are the estimated incomes for FY20, which leaves the estimated total assessments to the towns. The capital assessments are accurate based on the debt service schedules that I've reviewed, and that's one piece of positive information is one of the outstanding debt service schedules that we had for the sewer project. We closed that this year, so the capital assessment to both towns actually is decreasing this year.
Can I, Mr. Edwards, can I just jump in on two things? And I think there's two important numbers well, there's many important numbers on this document. But when we look at the level funding number, the 23.751, I think the important piece to really understand about that number is looking at what the town budget of 22.6 is, because you will see that it still takes over $1 million in addition to what we have in our local budget to actually operate and run the district with what we presently have. And so I just think it's important to underscore that number, because there's over $1 million in additional revenues, offsets as they're listed here, but revenues from various entitlement grants, user fees, et cetera, to operate the school district. That's significant. That's a big number. So I want to underscore that. I think the other number to just reference is the zero-based number, the 26.5. We understand that number is not realistic. We do. We understand that's a really big number. And so, through the next phase of this work, which will be the budget detail, Ms. Reggio, to one of your questions in point, and the budget workshops, we need to really set those priorities within that zero-based number and figure out what is a reasonable number to get to. But I do want to share very publicly, we do understand that 26.5 is not a realistic number to set, with everything that's before us. So I do want to say that up front.
Right, and that 23,751, with all the other fixed increases and whatnot, all the other stuff is going to get cut. All our other lines will get cut to keep that.
That's right, and so I'm glad you mentioned that, because the other thing that is not realistic is going backwards, right? So maintaining the exact level of funding is not realistic either. You can see very clearly that if you remove the 1.1 million in offsets, we have a $2 million gap there. That is significant. That is hugely significant. We went through the process last spring, which I watched from afar, and it was very painful for everybody involved, of cutting 1.5 million. So I do want to share, as boldly as we shared about the zero-base number, Ms. Larkin, to your point, it's also not realistic to be level funded either.
Right.
We need to move beyond that. Our kids deserve better.
Any comments or questions, concerns? Matt, and I could pull out my calculator, but off the top of your head, do you know, just looking at total assessment to towns, what the increase is, level funded versus level service? What percentage that is? It's like $1 million, not
about
quite $1 million.
It's about 500,000.
500,000. Do you know what percent that is?
I can tell you once I get my
500
calculator.
To the
divided
town,
by
percent to the
11.8.
town?
Yeah.
The difference between, I think, level funded and level service is $515,506.
Yeah, so then divide that by 11,000, whatever,
Yep.
whatever, and what do you get?
What'd you say, 500?
515,586.
I think it's a little over 3.
I think it's around 3% if I
Yeah.
did the math right, but I did it quick in my head. I think it's around 3.
4.3.
4.3, thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Maybe we'll to Tara for that kind of information. Okay.
Ms. Reggio, if I can just
Yes.
one other piece, just to remind everybody, at home, the total budget number does not come from the two communities solely.
Right.
I just want to remind folks of that. If you look at the bottom number, the estimated total assessment to towns, that's the number that the towns actually pay. And so,
About half.
right, it's about half. And the state right now covers about 57% of the district budget. And the rest comes from the, state aid, grants, circuit breaker, grant, circuit breaker, and then the user fees, and then the rest is the assessment to the town.
So
Our joint meeting with the towns, where we'll be,
is January 16th, and we will present this and have this discussion as well with the two boards of selectmen and finance committee. January 16th, 6 o'clock here.
when, what time?
6 o'clock, I believe is what we agreed to. And then we need to move forward with some potential dates to start looking at these priorities and actual numbers and details. And so one of the things that was discussed is using our next workshop meeting on the
23rd, I think it's the 23rd. Let me just double check. Yes, it's the 23rd of January, 6 p.m.
using that as budget-focused. Everyone good with that?
And so that will be in workshop format,
Yes.
so that not televised, but we'll start kind of looking at,
We'll ask the
important
cost
thing about
center,
this is
ask the
always
cost
talking
center
about-
folks to come and present their ideas and get down to the details and,
because
we
I
record
continue to
that?
urge folks to look at what service, what opportunities are in those numbers, and not just focus on the number. So I think those are the things that people need to pay attention to, so they can see what we're talking about versus just focusing on a number.
So that should
We will
probably
have
be-
one other item on that agenda, and I can't, for the life of me, think of what it is right now.
Special ed,
Special ed,
yep. Reorg.
just discussion.
So should we just change that to a meeting, not a workshop? Just to make it, I just think the cost center presentation should be televised.
Or recorded
least
at least.
recorded
Or recorded.
for reference.
Can be recorded. Okay. Can do that? Anybody have any issue with that?
No, I think that's the important piece, to start hearing
Yep, yep.
words.
And then, what was our next one?
We had the 30th or 31st.
The 30th or 31st?
I cannot be here on the
I
31st.
can't do the 31st.
The 30th.
4 weeks in a row.
Good?
30th will be what, another
I
budget
don't even know what day that is. You got to go
It's a
back.
Wednesday. It's a
All
Wednesday.
right, I,
It's 4 Wednesdays in a
I'm not
row.
doing good here. My calendar's not pulling up.
Yeah.
It's
And
the
I need
next
to
4
commit to
Wednesdays.
Well, I'm
What's
looking.
next what?
Next
Actually,
4
it won't
Wednesdays.
open till-
16th,
Alexa
right.
Yeah, so 3 counting, yeah. It's the-
23rd.
Goes down.
We're going to
just
live
right
together,
It's just all these Wednesdays.
and then, all
We
right.
also have a Tuesday meeting for the negotiation.
The 30th is a band concert. What time, do you know?
Usually 7.
7 PM.
Okay, we could always,
Can't. Can we do later?
later than 7.
No,
It's-
I thought you were saying 6.
Okay.
I'm just having trouble
No, that's okay.
committing.
So being mindful of the folks that'll be.
These are
presenting.
these are going to be budget workshops,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Yes, where the
So we
people
want the-
come and, like, we'll record them, but they're not going to be live. They'll be where the people come and present, and we hear the passion and the behind the scenes. They're behind the,
Oh, so you think on the 30th we'd still be doing
Yes.
cost center?
yes. Yeah, because we don't, I mean, we've always split that between 2 or 3.
Could we do a
5 o'clock?
to 7? I don't know if that would work. I know the cost center managers might not be on their A game at 8 PM.
No,
I wasn't saying later than 7.
Yeah.
I thought we were still talking 6, but
A little worried about them.
I
not,
can't.
you've seen me after 8. so.
I know you
You
said to bring
cannot.
my schedule. No, I just can't get online, so
Oh, you can't get
I can't
online.
get the sports schedule.
Oh,
I have a different sports schedule than her, so.
I'm
Both of my kids have games, but it is what it is. If we have to do it, we do it.
you want to try and shoot for 5 o'clock? 4:30? Ooh,
I can't do 4:30.
5 o'clock.
Okay, 5.
5 o'clock on the 30th.
Is the 23rd at 6?
23rd,
Erin.
do you,
Erin,
Do we want to move that
there's
one?
no game on the 30th. I got on.
What about the 23rd?
I think
23rd, there is a game.
Yeah, there is. So let's keep it
So
at
earlier
6.
wouldn't be better.
Yeah. We'll keep it at 6
6.
on the 23rd,
And January 30th is 5 PM.
5 PM. Okay, and then
We had the 5th.
February 5th or 6th?
6th.
I think both of those don't
We
work
could
for me.
stick to Wednesdays if that works, or we could do the 5th, which is a Tuesday.
Tuesday's the Lunar New Year, in case anybody
That's what
wants.
I'm like, I can't do that. It's the lunar
It's
new
the
year.
lunar.
I like Tuesday better.
You like Tuesday better?
People don't care.
The 5th? It is the Lunar New Year for Sarah and I. That might make a difference. I don't know. I don't even know what that means.
There's a game on February 6th, so. maybe
Yeah, the
February
6th
5th.
isn't.
So how about the 5th?
Okay.
February 5th?
6 PM?
Okay,
Yep.
Also budget.
yep. These are all budget. And the
27th?
27th of February.
We have a policy subcommittee meeting scheduled, but we could
Do both?
move, yeah, we could move that, we could do we could do that before.
That
we
was
could-
one of our regular meetings,
Yeah,
right?
that was already
Yes,
booked
that
as
was
a
already
policy
in there.
sub.
Yep.
I'm good. I'll be here for that.
So we'll do the 27th?
Yep,
Keep it at 6?
yep.
So some of us have 28.
And then we will have a,
Negotiations.
we'll still have a meeting where we have a public whatever,
Hearing?
public hearing, thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
So any of these that are cost center presentations will be recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
I do just want to make sure that Mr. Schaefer doesn't have a presentation on the 30th, if he has a concert.
Yes.
So we'll just make sure his day isn't.
Yeah.
We'll go backwards. to the
We
normal
will definitely,
plan.
we'll make sure of that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah, if we need to add more, we had one more, but,
Yeah, we have the 6th as a tentative, and I believe the public hearing is the meeting in March.
It's the
which
first
is-
March
yeah,
meeting,
which is
yeah.
tentative, I mean, we can do what we need to do with that, but right now it's scheduled for March 13th.
Yep.
Just if we're thinking about, working backwards to.
right.
Yeah.
So just put a hold on March 6th for right now? If you, oh, no, we have negotiations.
We have
that night.
negotiations, yeah. Oh, wasn't that canceled?
Is that the one he moved?
That's the one that was
Yes.
canceled.
That's the
Yeah,
one he
I
moved?
think that was
Yeah. Oh,
canceled.
that's why we put it down. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I think that one was
Canceled?
canceled.
Yeah, that's the one he couldn't do.
February
He emailed
7th.
last week, and I think he
Yeah.
offered the 7th.
Yes, he
can't
did,
do.
which I can't do.
Okay.
It's still on our calendar.
Or actually, he offered a date in February, I don't know. But anyway. Okay, so just
Okay.
hold the 6th for now.
And I can email these out to everybody,
Yeah,
just so you
that'd be
have them all, and the times.
Is there anything else we should do to prepare? No, you'll get us everything
Yep.
we need. Okay,
Everything we need to do.
okay.
And that concludes my report, Ms. Reggio.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Well.
So actually, all of the business office reports are very much in line with how things have been trending. There have not been any significant changes since our last meeting. If you look at the salary spend down report, which is the one with the nice yellow border.
Oh,
There-
thank you.
There's a couple of areas where it's clear that at this point, we are looking like we will overspend a bit, mostly in some custodial expenses and custodial overtime that we're planning on spending for snow removal. But that was
Okay, hasn't
discussed.
snowed.
A lot of it has been in conjunction with some of the beginning facilities issues that we faced at the start of the school year. The speech therapists, again, I do apologize, that is not just speech therapists, that's occupational therapists and other therapists in the special education department. But as you can see, there is still a balance at the bottom that we're anticipating not overdrawing the accounts, but this balance that Dr. DeFalco and I have continuously been watching has been coming down further and further. And what I especially appreciate is that it's been, the rate at which it's dropping is starting to slow down as well. So there were some initial large drops in the beginning, but now it seems to be petering off and just decreasing at a relatively steady rate. The
Any questions?
questions on that?
Thank you.
The cost center review also has not changed significantly from last month. The money that was set aside in, that was used, locked up in a purchase order for technology equipment was released, so that large negative is gone. We did actually, if you look down towards the tuitions on the second page, while we are still showing negative in the non-public programs, we're anticipating offsetting some of those funds with circuit breaker reimbursements. And those numbers actually, they actually came back up a little from the last time. That was because of the FY18 money that we applied. There was some remaining FY18 funds in special education grants that we applied to tuitions for FY19.
Great.
So if you look at our current available balance, the bottom line in our general expenditures, aside from salary, we're still at about $470,000, looking like we're not moving into the red anytime soon.
Any questions on that? Tammy?
Matt, can you, line 3,300, transportation services is a large red number. Can you speak to that? What's throwing that off?
The actual the transportation costs did increase. We're hoping that it's going to be offset with the transportation reimbursements. I can get a, well, I
We're
will.
holding our breath, Matt.
No, actually, I will say, I was pleasantly surprised when we look at the revenue report. I sent the statement to Dr. DeFalco today. We got our first transportation reimbursement of over $250,000. So it will start to have an impact. But I can do I can dive
Just
further
a question,
into
I
this.
mean, the busing itself as a whole is set contractually, but is it like a special ed transportation costs that are throwing us off, or what could increase from the contract number that we would have already budgeted for? And my concern is it's, January 9th, and it's $65,000 off.
The contract is for the cost of the routes, not necessarily the routes. And also, there would be transportation costs for athletics in here as well, and some other services. So
Okay.
I honestly can get you a much better answer. I'll dive further into that specific number and find
Okay.
out what's making up all of those specific costs. And I apologize for not having that. It's a
No, I mean,
significant
it's just, when you look at the percent expended, it doesn't raise any red flags.
Right.
But then when you think about if we're if we're under budgeted and then this, we have to find this somewhere, that
Right.
might be problematic.
And sometimes what happens is
continue to grow, right.
we encumber based on what we're anticipating the contract will cost,
Sure.
but then we're billed on an ongoing basis. So we've encumbered all of this money that puts us into the negative.
Okay.
But right now, we're not spending what we're saying we're going to.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Matt. Revenue?
Personnel update. Oh, I'm sorry, revenue report. I actually changed the format of the revenue report a little bit. I admittedly caught something that was slightly misleading. If you look, the revenue report is now split into two separate sections. Previously, it was one list of all of the revenues. However, a large portion of the revenues are not budgeted for. So when this report was originally presented, it had all of the non-budgeted revenues incorporated into the total revenue that was brought in. So when we were comparing, when I was looking at the anticipated revenue compared to the revenue brought in, it was slightly misleading because it had some revenues that were not budgeted for that were adding to the total amount that we did budget for. So now you can take a look. At the top section are all of the revenues that we budgeted for, and things are going well. We've so far taken in about 40.8% of all anticipated revenues. As I mentioned today, I did just get in our first state aid transportation reimbursement, and so where we have budgeted to take in $472,000 and hadn't taken in anything yet, I just got a deposit of over $250,000, and I'm anticipating that our state aid transportation may actually come in higher than that 472 in the end if we continue to get these size reimbursements. The other revenue on the bottom is simply other athletics user fees, revolving accounts, music user fees. So again, I like to include this because there's always a question of whether or not some of our programs are actually bringing in the money that we're planning on using to offset the costs, and they are. You can see that the cafeteria funds, actually the entire program is self-funded, but you can also see that there's athletic user fees that have been brought in of $32,000 already, music user fees of $22,000.
I'm just confused, though. You said the top was anticipated, the bottom was not.
So it's not that they're not anticipated, there wasn't a set budget number for them. So,
But we did already offset a lot of line items with the user fees.
absolutely.
Like you just mentioned, cafeteria, they actually run on their own.
They run on their
They're
own.
using all of this money
Correct.
on their own
Correct.
budget.
So
Okay.
to clarify my previous statement, the numbers that are on the top of the chart, I put in an anticipated budget, an exact number of what we're anticipating bringing in. So those are the ones that we know, like, we know what our local aid is going to be. We know what we're going to get in for circuit breaker. We know what we're going to get in for Title I. So I put those specific numbers in the budget. Whereas our music user fees, we anticipate getting in money, but there's not a budgeted number put in there.
Would you be able to move, but we did have to go through and see what was offset. Would
Correct.
you be able to put the offsets under that budget line, just so we know where we are
things
positive or
stand?
negative? Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
I think it would fit right in that line for the ones that we did use.
yeah. No, that
Keep it
makes,
separate so we know.
Yeah.
yeah, I think I could
But
put together,
what we were,
Yeah.
right.
I could put together a different chart. And what I could do is,
Maybe a third.
yeah, I could put together anticipated, because even though it's not budgeted for,
Right.
I did meet with cost center leaders, and we did go through what we would anticipate
We have some
bringing
pretty
in.
large offsets on athletics and music.
Yeah,
We do.
Using these fees, so I would like to see the numbers put together.
Yeah.
Based on what has come in versus what we anticipated using.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay, thank you.
In particular, in those two examples, too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Those,
Yeah.
Those are
because we
big
did,
bucket items.
we did identify an amount for
What they
each
were.
one of those.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions regarding the revenue report?
Anyone? Nope.
Last report, I'm happy to share, is not very large. It's the personnel update at this point in the year. We did have 2 resignations that are listed, but you can see in the chart. If there are any questions.
Have these positions been filled?
Posted.
They just posted.
They have been posted but not filled yet. I know they are, for the resignation in Unit C, they're currently interviewing.
You have a facility report? It's in there, but I don't know if you know.
It is listed. There's not
Okay.
a ton to report. I can say that we were assigned, the Millville Boiler Project was assigned an OPM and an architect.
Can you explain what an OPM is?
Yep. An OPM is the owner's project manager that will represent the school district when in dealing with all of the construction people, leaders, the contractors, so to speak. And I actually met with them at Millville. They did an initial walkthrough of where the boiler is and started coming up with some plans, and they're engaging in the feasibility design portion as we speak.
Great, thank you. We had a request early on to see if we would consider another public forum. I'll look for consensus as to whether or not people wish to do that at this time.
I'm sorry, what?
We had been asked of whether or not we would have another public forum, and I'm looking for consensus as to whether or not we would choose to do that or not.
Is this a so moved thing?
No, just yeah, sure, or
Sure.
no. Yeah.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Fine with me.
Okay, we'll open it up to a public forum if anybody would like to make any comments. Okay, school committee forum. I certainly hope that everyone had a lovely holiday break and I wish for much success in 2019. It is a very busy year for us with a lot of things on the agenda, so we ask your patience as we move slowly through these processes, but we're excited to do so. I also send my condolences to those families in Blackstone who lost their home and their belongings, and appreciate the support of our communities coming together, because I know people do that, and we do it well around here, and that's one of the great things about living in Blackstone and Millville, is that people are good people. So I send my condolences to those families, and if there are needs, I certainly hope that they will let us know. Tammy?
I was going to mention the families and just urging people to, help out if they can, and hoping that they get through this successfully and find a new home in the meantime. So that's it for me.
I received an email today regarding the new snack procedure. Just pretty much it states that if children have a negative lunch account balance, they're not allowed to buy a snack. I'm not against it, but I just wasn't sure if that's something that we need to review as a committee. Is that part of our policies, procedures? I just didn't know where that fell into.
So we reviewed the policy that was set by the school committee, and there was nothing in the policy that prevented that process or practice from taking place. Okay. We've had significant increases, particularly this year, in families running a deficit in their lunch accounts, and yet their students, I hate to say particularly at the high school, but they purchase snacks with cash, and they're asked occasionally, hey, your account's in negative, but they're like, well, I'd rather get the bag of cookies. So in an effort to just support maintaining the funds and the running of the cafeteria program, because as we mentioned, it's an actual self-sustaining program where our people are paid through the money that it raises. We're trying to eliminate those negative balances.
Yep. I said I'm not against it. I just wanted to confirm that we didn't need to
but
do
there was
something
nothing,
on this
there
side
was,
as well.
we did check the policies that were established, and there's nothing in that procedure that was violating any of the policy.
So I think we should actually put that policy back on the table, because I think that kind of stuff should be in a policy. So there is, the concern is that when there's sort of an unwritten rule floating around and then it comes up. So, I'm just thinking of this, and I brought up the lunch accounts, at our last meeting. So I am happy that we're thinking about how to reduce that overall amount out there. However, if a kid has only $1 and he's not charging the $4 lunch, then at the end of that exchange and he's just getting by with a cookie, that's helping our bottom balance. Not the most nutritional way to take care of it, but I don't think that we should have some sort of unwritten rule outside of a policy that we've already discussed that is up for interpretation in each building. Because, I think it's really important that we make sure cafeteria staff are having a private, the whole purpose, I wasn't here when we did the lunch policy, but it's to reduce the embarrassment to the kids. So if you're having a lengthy conversation about, hey, your balance is this, you can't get those cookies, I think we need to kind of just consider how that happens. And I do think it should be in the policy. If that's the recommendation, we should talk about that.
And with policies, if I could just add to that, I think we want to make sure that they're broad enough that we can build the district-wide procedures to make sure we're all doing the same thing.
Right.
We want to be cautious that we don't build procedures or protocols into a policy. So just as we're thinking about how do we kind of want to wrap our heads around that particular issue.
Well, I guess the
We've got
fact
the
that
language.
MES got that today and I did not is part of
Concern.
that's
Yeah.
where, that's how it trickles down. And then all of
Sure.
a sudden it's, you're out in public and, the school committee doesn't let my kid get cookies. And I'm like, wait a minute, we didn't even talk about that,
Yeah, sure.
So I just think we should look at the lunch policy to see if that is something that should be part. I know that in the district I teach in, we have they can't charge any extra things on the account versus we don't cover the cash policy. So it's just something that I think we should look at the policy to see if it should be included, and I'll do that as policy person.
And I just want to point out, because you mentioned you weren't here when it was, when we created that policy, we did have the, which we had to take out because apparently it was against the law. We were holding diplomas, and you know, and if they got to their senior year and they had an outstanding balance, the deal was you had to pay or you weren't getting your certificate. And so really, I think it sounds like we just need to change
We need to look at it
that
again. Yeah.
to state, you know, because, so we lost that leverage, but we could change it to add this leverage. I did get the email, and I thought I got it from
Unless
Mr.
it's in my
Dudek.
junk account.
But I
just
don't,
looked
so
as was-
I read it, and I was like, oh, good idea, because the first thing my kids will do when they can't buy a cookie is come home and tell me I need to pay my bill. So I think it would work if it's written the right way and it's consistent everywhere.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think it needs to be a policy change if the procedure is written and available. Like, as long as the procedure is known to everyone and written somewhere and consistent, then the policy might not need an adjustment. That's, I think, and the point of policy is to be broad and encompassing, and the procedure is to be the exact in the enforcement of the policy, as long as it's within the guidelines of the policy.
I was just
Well,
pointing out that we
still
did have
need
leverage.
review. We
Yeah.
still
We don't-
need
we don't
review
have it
anyway
anymore.
because I don't know
Yeah.
that we changed it, so.
I think it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, to your point, Jack, if it doesn't have to be changed in the policy, then it has to be changed in each handbook the
Right.
same.
So it
has
to
So
be
it has to be.
That's what I said. As long as the
captured. Yeah.
procedure's written and consistent, then the policy doesn't need to change.
Right, so then we open the handbooks again,
Yeah.
which is fine with me. I don't care what we change, but it has to be consistent.
I can say that, not dismissing that we may want to revisit it, policy or in the handbooks, but the communication that went out was consistent across all of the schools. The communication came from the Director of Food Services and myself and was distributed to the principals to share with the families.
Okay, it hasn't reached us all yet.
And it was
I'm
to...
sure it will,
Yeah,
but-
and it was also stated to take effect effective January 11th.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Oh, yes, food service announcement.
Did you get it from?
Anything else, Tara?
No.
I don't
Aaron?
have anything.
Jack?
Not today.
Sarah?
I had an opportunity to sit in on the Google Classroom professional development at the middle school, and I went in clueless, and I had a new Chromebook, so it really, I think, was a relevant and helpful resource. I mean, I used to teach, and I can see how it would be beneficial to the staff and students for just better communication. I don't know, I just lost my train of thought. But it was a
But you
great
enjoyed it.
professional development. I enjoyed it, and I appreciate being able to sit in on it.
I don't know what part of that reminded me of a conversation I had, but I want to go back to me and pretend like I didn't say I didn't have anything.
Go back to Jack.
I
Sorry,
ran into
Sarah.
Paulette Boyko the other day from the Enlightener, and she was very pleased with the amount of articles and information she had from the district in
Oh, great.
the most recent publication. And I think we've made some progress on that front, however we managed to do it, and she's happy with the information she has now.
Great, that's good. Anything else?
So I'm done. Thank you, Jack.
Okay. Our next regular meeting is February 13th, but our next workshops are, as we said earlier. And I will entertain a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual negotiations, not to return. We'll adjourn from executive session.
So moved.
Moved by, did you say that, Tammy?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Moved by Tammy. Second?
Second.
By Sarah?
Yes.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so move to move.